keep you on your toes.
Wow.
Yeah, got those samples with perfect timing.
We were already tail to tail, so it was like,
It's kind of meant to be.
yeah.
490K ground fault.
Craps off, I thought I turned it off. I did, yeah.
So maybe it's a DVL.
I'll put it in the book.
Roger. Actually, Kylie, I'll still have us coming fast.
Roger, fast, fast.
We're not out of the clear yet.
Yeah, looks like there's the...
Yeah.
Okay, 30 meters a minute.
Roger. So, everyone breathing still?
How are you guys doing?
Par for the course.
So what just happened?
If you want, you can look at the DVL, the ROV nav screen.
Okay.
The
Got
ship took a detour.
Oh,
I think I'm missing some of it, but so straight south and then like straight west and
Okay.
the cliff was here, yeah?
Right. Yeah.
So it was like pulling us
Towards the cliff.
towards.
Straight into the
so
cliff.
we wanted to go straight up, but it took a while because of how steep it is. It took a while to clear it,
Right.
which is why it was like, just come up and pitch the plates because we're limited with how fast we can come up, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah. So that's why you dropped all the ballast in.
yeah.
And then that way that allows you to drive the ROV up faster.
Yeah.
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 All
I mean, that was like a 2-minute drill in football. That was really good. You know?
And that we were tail to tail, like we were already in a recovery position,
Okay.
you know?
See,
So it's
we're
like
gonna be
we're sort of already
right at
situated,
waypoint 4.
being pulled taut, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah. That made it a little easier.
Watch. You're still coming up? Okay. Do you want me to just keep the delta? Okay. 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 The wind has come up a little too. It's 27. Fun, fun.
All right. I'll have you come up.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks all you guys. No, you did a good job on pitching those plates real quick. Very nice.
I mean, so that brings up a question. Are there simulators that you train on in between, or?
Okay, understood, Bridge.
Well, I want to let...
You want me to drive back over Arcus?
I'd prefer actually just letting it settle out.
Okay, so we'll just hang.
Let's just hang.
All right.
We've been hanging.
Let's just chill.
Oh, no, you can keep hanging because we're going to have like 100 meters of swing. All right, Kevin, so I want you to let us know what you want.
Yeah, I think if we can settle out around waypoint 4. Or, yeah, because I think waypoint 5 is due south, correct? Can we zoom out a little bit on the HIPAC? Yeah, so maybe just try to settle out around 8.4, and then next watch can decide if they want to go off or on the lip.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so I guess you need to like hit the ship move forward a bit.
Gotcha. Bridge nav, 150 meters, 090.
Yeah, the ground fault's on the Doppler.
Crasterval.
Very interesting name.
You know, it's like when the Power Rangers form together to form the Megazord,
Exactly.
right? When we have one enemy that we can't beat independently, we can form together into Crasterval.
That is interesting. I'll just let that hang for a bit. Passes.
With our flying, naving, and manipulating powers combined.
That might just be my new password.
Yeah. Crasterval 2022.
Right. Question mark, question mark. Yeah.
Whenever my dad needs to update his password, it's like Kylie, Nautilus, and then whatever year it is. Like, you have other kids. And I do other things. Proud dad.
Proud Papa.
Either that or it sounds like something that one should see on a label somewhere on this ship. Because it's, you know, original German origins from the 60s, right?
Yeah.
There's still a bunch of those, you know, plates up on doors and things like that, the labels that I don't understand because I don't speak German.
Yeah. And the radio room that doesn't get any Wi-Fi or cell service.
That cracks me up. That's somebody's cabin. Yeah. Who's in there this time?
I think it might be mine, but I'm not sure.
It's up on the same deck as the mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, up forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's number 4, and
Yeah,
you
I
also
think that's you.
you can't hear the alarms in there.
No. All right.
But you got a fridge in there, so there's that.
Yes.
I think we're good there, Kevin.
Okay, I'm all set.
Thank you.
You do get some Wi-Fi, but it's not the greatest, strongest signal. But it is in there now.
Okay, that's an upgrade. That's good.
Is that, that's because that whole room must be a Faraday cage. All right, that just occurred to me.
The whole ship is a Faraday cage.
Lead
We have
RO.
a lot of access points on this ship, Wi-Fi access points.
I'm just taking up the slack because you should definitely stay here. And yeah, and I'll take out the delta depth difference.
Should I increase the speed to 0.3 so we don't,
Yeah,
so we can meet
Please.
yeah.
please.
At first it looked like we were using all our thrust to just do this, but it looks like we can get up. Bridge, can we increase the speed to 0.3 knots? There's no particular reason to be moving slow with this ship move. Just paint over it. Yep, that is a thing that happened.
Nautilus does have a lot of labels.
Before to open porthole, permission from bridge to be asked. That's what it says in my cabin.
Also what it says in mine. And I think the porthole in question now goes into a hallway on that new extension instead of to the outside.
Oh, good.
Sure, yeah. Write that there is creep or check that there is creep. Oh, Raj.
So
It's
how
just
did,
like,
oh, you go, Chris.
Just looking at ship things, I think.
So how did Wetmore Seamount get its name?
That's a good question. I have to look it up exactly. It's one of the naval captains that was involved in the history of Johnson Atoll. So Johnson Atoll was first put on a map when a Bostonian ship ran aground, basically, on it. So, because Johnson Atoll was it's more built up now than it ever was. It was just basically a little bit of sand in the middle of the ocean. So it was actually hard to see. So I think it was Pierpont who initially hit into it. I'm trying to find the history of it. American Bridge Sally, which is the name of the seamount south of Johnson Atoll. Okay, and Pierpont, who has a seamount named after him, was the first one just to crash into it. Sometimes that's all you need to do to get your name, something named after you. And then Captain Charles Johnson, who ran the famous ship HMS Cornwallis, in 1807, sighted it again, and the fishery named it and put it on the map. It's named after him, obviously, Charles Johnson. Then what's interesting is King Kamehameha IV of Hawaii, after that, went down there and put a Hawaiian flag in it and claimed the atoll for the Kingdom of Hawaii. And then the American/British will go back and take it again. Americans in this case, 1858. And then where is Wetmore? Wetmore, he's one of these people. I'm trying to remember. Oh, and Dr. Alexander Wetmore was the first scientist to do a study. He was a biologist working for the U.S. government. He's the one who mapped out the biology of the island, and that's why that seamounts named after him.
Sounds like a reasonable person to name a
Yeah.
local seamount after.
Yeah, that was in 1923 with the first scientific surveys in the area.
That was after people had mined it for guano and...
Yeah. The guano started, I think, in the 1800s, the mining for guano. And it was pretty good. It's not as good as places like Jarvis Island, which is just like a thick island made out of guano. I got to sail past Jarvis Island, and it was just, if you look in the binoculars, it's just birds. It's like a sea, a thick sea of birds. So you can imagine what is beneath the birds.
So we weren't able to actually start like synthesizing nitrogen for fertilizers until what, the 1920s?
Oh, well, most of that started after World War II.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Most chemical fertilizers came out of the, all of the kind of chemical development that went on for World War II.
So before that, basically we had bird poop mined from islands.
Yeah.
Okay.
And bat poop mined from caves.
Oh, wow. If I thought that mining guano on a tropical island with no rainfall was a dirty job. I can't imagine going to a cave.
Yeah. At least a cave, you can leave the cave and go to something. Jarvis Island is nothing.
Well, the problem with a cave is it's an enclosed space.
Yeah.
And so you can actually have toxic levels of ammonia in the air.
Oh, fun. Shout out to my ancestors.
Yeah.
Getting it done. Dying in the name of someone much wealthier.
Yeah, well, that all sounds like really tough work.
Yeah.
So now I kind of want to get scientific about it, but is anybody actually like looking at, now that a lot of these islands are wildlife refuges, is anybody looking at like guano replacement rates beneath these colonies?
I don't know. I've not heard of that, but there's a lot of research out there that I don't know about, so Could be.
None that I'm aware of, but I don't do a lot of work with like seabirds, so.
So some people in the chat are wondering why we're seeing blue water right now. We're just positioning right to a new spot.
Yeah, positioning. That's, yeah.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, the ship needed to move and the ROVs needed to quickly reposition. And so because there's 1.5 kilometers of cable in between us and the ship, that kind of, the swing has to happen. The ship moved faster than the ROVs did. So the ROVs are kind of swinging to catch up. And that takes a little while. So we're doing it up in the water column, well away from anything hard.
Yeah.
So Chris, what's Norbit telling us?
Norbit is off. We're
Oh.
out of range of the bottom, so I shut it off just so it
Okay.
doesn't produce noise.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, they are good. We're just moving back. We're trying to get back to where we were, or to the waypoint 4 before we come back down.
And it doesn't have to be exact. It can be just along the contour,
Right.
wherever we end up.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to roughly the contour.
Okay.
We had to, we're moving the ship back up to pull the layback out of Argus,
Yeah.
mostly. We have another 10 meters to go on this move, and then we'll. Okay. Well, we had to be zoomed out quite a bit to have all the vehicles in the same display there for a minute.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
So finish this move, sit for a minute, and then, yeah.
Yeah, then we'll go down once all of everything's settled out again. Yeah, if you guys want to, maybe Chris can show you the neat map of the cliff face that we,
The accidental map.
accidental map that we just made.
The incidental accidental map.
Yeah.
That is a steep old cliff.
Yeah.
You want to show them where we started?
It's up on satellite 4 right now.
Yeah, so
I'm
here,
sorry,
let me put,
sorry,
let me put this in
satellite
full
3.
screen.
Channel 3.
So right here, if you can see my cursor, this is the ridge that we were going along,
Uh-huh.
right there. And when we had to start pulling up, we started right about there, right on that cliff. And there it is. So, actually, wait, I can, if I,
Do you have a scale of how many meters that is in
yeah,
green?
I can measure it. Give me a second.
I'm wagering 400.
I'm going to say 250.
Is it the Price is Right rules?
$1, Bob. This is true.
About 180 meters.
All right.
We'd paid in 400.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys went way up over it.
We
Yeah.
fear winched, is that what you're saying? we
Fear
did?
winch, yeah.
Well, also we had to account for how much layback's going to be
Oh,
in the cable, right?
Exactly, yeah, that part, yeah. We
Let's
were
see
way
here.
far away from the ship, so there was like a lot of cable out dragging us, so we paid in more than needed, so as we swang back in, we'd still clear it, just to be sure.
Yeah, that was looks like it was about a 200 meter cliff.
Wow.
Solid.
Yeah, straight up.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Straight
Yeah.
into the cliff. Yeah.
And Kevin, this was not the steepest one?
No.
Between
This should
waypoint
be
8
like-
and 9 is bigger, right? Steeper?
Yeah. It's something like, I can't even tell because the contours are so close together, but
Oh, wow.
Wow.
something on the order of 2,000 meters, 1,500.
We'll definitely have to pass the word along that things are interesting.
Not for the faint of heart.
Got spicy cliffs.
Yes, they have a lot of spice on them. Coated in.
That's more spice than I like, I think. It's like,
Too hot.
a little bit.
Too hot.
Some like it hot and some really don't.
Some like it mild.
Yeah, so we're gonna let the vehicle settle out now, Kevin, and then we'll start reacquiring the bottom,
Excellent, thank you.
just to be good to know where everything sits before we go back down. Should be about 5 minutes for it to settle out, maybe 10.
I once drew, like, trying to get a sense of how far between the ship and the ROVs, how much cable is out and what that actually looks like. And so I actually was sort of like, I had a whiteboard in my classroom and I drew it to scale. I like measured out the length of the ship, the depth of the water, the size of the ROVs, and it was sort of this striking. Like if you can imagine drawing a line at the top of a chalkboard and then just the line, like, I don't know, it was like 2 centimeters was the width of the ship, and then just like straight down to the bottom of the chalkboard, and then like a dot was the size of the ROV, and
Yeah.
like that's the scale, the distance, how far apart these vehicles all are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of cable. It's a lot of distance.
Yeah.
It's also a lot of weight. I have 1,500 meters paid out. That is 1,370 kilograms. That's my cable weight.
Yeah, I'm working with UNOS right now. We're going to do some experimental work with dredges and using synthetic wires instead of steel to try to reduce tension rate, because it's so massive when you have 4 kilometers, of wire, thick stainless steel wire.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't do that with the Herc because we need to protect the fiber optics, but I'm hoping that reduces tension.
Yeah.
What kind of wire was it?
Stainless steel, I think it's 6/8 is the standard dredge wire.
That's what we have. Yeah, we have a 6/8 cable. 6/8,
Yeah.
0.68 of an inch.
So we'll have like a kilometer of that 0.68, because if the synthetic wire hits the ground, it will probably break easily. But free floating in the ocean, it's fine. So we have to figure out a way that we can successfully connect, basically, that 6/8 cable to a synthetic cable.
All right. So vehicles are settling out. We're going to manage our tether wrap here that we got going on, and then we're going to just start to approach. I'm
Excellent.
gonna drop under you by 15 meters, Kylie, and can start out our tether.
Okay.
I think we'll probably just barely get them to the seafloor by the time we turn over.
Sure, yeah.
It is the polite thing to do, so
Yeah.
good on.
At least take our wraps out.
Then the cliff is the 4 to 8 problem.
Right.
Well, now they're kind of on top of the cliff a wee bit, so we just gave them a very quick transect.
Why does your altimeter say that?
What was that?
Your altimeter says 0.2 meters.
Oh yeah, it's just not registering anything. That's its default. Until it reads 1 meter. No, yeah, 0.2 is like the default.
Yep, there's the bottom.
Great.
228 meters.
Awesome.
Raj.
You don't have to come down, Kylie. I'm trying to get under you, and then I'll sort out the wraps, and then we'll go down together.
Okay. You don't want to do that when we see the seafloor? Maybe like 50 meters off or whatever? Like traditional bottom approach?
Okay.
It don't matter, I know, but I don't know, maybe.
Okay, yeah, we can do it. Do it as long as we get them sorted out before Dan sees.
Yeah, totally.
That's kind of the whole point here.
He might be watching from the mess.
Oh, never mind on that steep cliff between 8 and 9. That was on the last seamount. I was looking at the wrong dive plan.
Oh, Raj, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why I had this one open in front of me. I was about to say, it didn't look right, but... So that, we are probably in the steepest area right now.
You're
I
doing
mean,
it
it's
anyway.
similarly steep between you
You
and
can't fool me.
the end.
Only if they drop back over that edge.
Yeah.
I'm not going to notice the compass just spinning around. That's good. Get the wrap out. I have to get my 6/8 wrap out, but I don't know what it's going to do for the thruster.
I think it'll... Let me try going this way.
200 meters.
Roger. Yeah, go ahead and try spinning.
Okay.
You, no? Remember at one point we said through the north, so...
Yeah, now we're already back on that side, so I'm not sure what direction not that way, Raj, other way. Come on.
I'll give you some more slack.
It's not going to happen.
Nice. Oh. I'm going to drive to you a bit. All right, let's just go see far.
Just come down?
Yeah.
Raj. It's not. We'll figure it out when we get there.
Which way? Wait, hang on. I can't. I'm zoomed out too far. I can't see which way you're actually facing in this picture. So you're currently facing downslope. But it's the slope is fairly shallow. It's pretty flat right where you're about to land. So, but then there's like, you know, a bottomless pit at the like 10 meters ahead of you. So
You gotta know it.
Just don't go right.
yeah.
Kevin, was there any particular thing of interest at waypoint 4, or is it just literally like a...
No, we just
trail?
kind of made a track that goes along the lip. So there's nothing particularly special about waypoint 4, but it seemed like a flatter, stabler area to land on. So
'Is it possible to get the Norbit view back on channel 3?
Sure, I can put it up. Is there anything there, Chris? Oh, yep.
You can
Excuse
see our
me.
bottom approach this way.
Not with that up.
I mean, you're starting, probably because I've been spending a lot of time looking at corals and crinoids, but that pattern is actually starting to look like a biological form.
Mm. 125 meters.
Roger.
Sorry, Bridge, that wasn't for you. No, you can hang out for a little bit.
Turn of the watch.
Thanks for the eventful watch, guys. Very fun.
One to remember. They're all ones to remember.
One of nightmares. That was kind of fun.
Good times.
Good times. What are we at there?
105.
Raj.
Ah, see?
No beams. I haven't seen Dan down in the winch hold yet,
Raj.
so we'll probably get there just in time. Oh, Gibson's down there now.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending where you are in the world. We are just coming up on a watch change with Team Delta Dan and the Benthic Storms coming at you. If you'd like to ask any questions, please feel free to answer it or ask them in the chat at nautiluslive.org, and we would be more than happy to answer them. All right, to start off our day, Steve, can you tell us a little bit of the dive plan today?
Sure, let's get underway first before we, or we'll communicate with the front row first before we head into the conversation
Fair enough.
when they're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Ready on video. So they got pulled off a ways back, but we're not going to backtrack. We're just going to drop in at waypoint 4 here and probably continue on the dive southward towards 5.
Kind of really quickly answer that question in chat. My friend wants to ask you guys, have you guys eaten yet? No, not yet. I mean, of course, some of us have had snacks and little stuff that we were able to shove in our mouth right before watch. But it is quite early, and usually we get relieved around 8 o'clock, and then that's where we usually eat breakfast.
So the goal for this part of the dive was kind of to skirt the rim of the seamount. We've just pretty much arrived at the crest of the guyot, but there's a fairly low slope environment from here. But if we hug kind of the edge from 4, 5, 6, we should be able to stay in just the top of the ridge. But we'll see what we find, and we'll adjust our track accordingly.
Sounds good. Mostly south. Yeah. You ready? Okay.
Answering that question in chat, are the ocean conditions still rough? Yes. Yes, they're a little rough. We had a little bit of 3-meter swells just yesterday, and we were being tossed around quite a little bit.
Let's see. If we have a second, there was something off to the right that might be worth looking at. If it's right here, something red. A partial zoom is probably fine. I think it's a stalked crinoid. Yeah. Great. Proisocrinus. One of the more common stalked crinoids at these depths. All right, so dive plan for today. We are at Wetmore Seamount, or unnamed seamount, but also unofficially called Wetmore Seamount by folks from the NOAA ship Okeanos Explorer during Capstone of 2017. So this site is a very large seamount. It's more than 60 kilometers across from base to base along the long axis. What was interesting about this site is it has very interesting morphological characteristics. These are like long ridges on both the west and the eastern ends, and then in the center of the guyot, or on the near the yeah, near the center of the guyot, there's these large, massive, what look to be failures in the carbonate cap that we're diving on today. We've just pretty much reached the carbonate cap area, or at least the flat part. I'm not sure what kinds of rocks they were getting down deeper, but I'm sure they got some good basalt material from our deepest depth on bottom, which is around 2,500 meters. But we've
Just FYI, we're going tail to tail right now.
We don't have much more depth to go here at this site. It's mostly going to be a long, a transect along the long axis of the crest of the guyot to see what kind of communities we're finding up on the top of it. But the plan is basically just to cruise along here. We have a bit of a way. I think it's almost 2 kilometers between waypoint 4 and 9, which is our end of our dive track. But we're going to keep going for as long as the weather permits. I think
do a couple gauge checks here.
And then here's a question for Brandon. What is the definition of a guyot?
So it's a flat-topped seamount. That's the full extent of the definition, not very exciting. But yeah, some geologists like to characterize it as having a carbonate or limestone cap as well on that flat top. But
And then how do these ocean features get named? Or these unnamed ocean features get named?
so you have to, because we're in this protected area,
the fish right there.
There are, protocols to follow.
Right next to the lasers.
It's not like back in the day where you
tiny fish.
You publish a paper and name it whatever you want. I'm not too familiar with the protocols, but yeah, it's not just as simple as writing a paper and calling it something. At least officially. I mean, you could call it whatever you want if it's just you. This is now known as Brandon's guyot, by the way.
So to all of you scientists watching, forever future reference, just now, it's now Brandon's guyot. Here's another question from chat. Are we going to go back over that cliff face and drop off like we did last time?
We'll see how we do along this dive. If we continue our southward transect, it should bring us into a slightly steeper slope, but we're just going to kind of run by
Not just messing around
right now. So we have a rough guideline of waypoints, but we're going to try and run up and down as stuff looks interesting on the seafloor here. There's a fair bit of particulate matter in the water, which is good. We're seeing more corals towards the deeper end of this, right this spot where we're at. Some Chrysogorgia in the area, as well as some hemicorallium I've seen so far, which is representative of what they saw a little bit deeper, but things are sparse up here. They were seeing some pretty high density stuff on the vertical faces around waypoint 3. But there's a fair bit more sediment up here. The slopes are more gentle. There's probably not as strong of currents, perhaps. Sediment tends to accumulate in those kinds of conditions.
Oh, sea urchin.
Yep, pancake urchin.
Hercules and Atlantic gauges look good.
Caulophacus, glass sponge, maybe.
Then another question from chat. Are you collaborating with NASA? The landscape seems similar, very similar to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. I don't believe we are, but our data is public, so if NASA does choose to use it, they are more than welcome to. But as of right now, I do not think our exact cruise is partnershiped with
I'm coming around clockwise
NASA.
to take the wrap out.
There have been partnerships in the past.
Roger.
So yeah, there have been collaborations in the past. You can check the website for those cruises. I think
It's weird I'm getting an
I wanna
aft
say
thruster reading even though
subsea.
it's disabled, eh?
subsea in 2019 might have been one of those instances.
I think subsea might have been prior to 2019 because I remember reading about it when I applied.
Yeah.
It got me really excited.
Yeah. All the years are starting to blend together.
So what did you do on
Yeah,
that
you're right.
expedition?
Okay.
I wasn't out there. But
Roger, looking south.
yeah, I don't recall the specific details enough to speak in an informed way about it.
I do like thinking about
Yeah.
Mars and the moon compared to the deep sea. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's oddly similar.
Even in lithology too, at least geologically, it's somewhat similar.
How so?
Basalt is on both the moon and Mars, especially on the moon. But the moon also has, I think it's called neckartite, something like that, which is extremely plagioclase rich basalt. That's what you see when you look at the moon and it's white. That's why it's plagioclase. And then its inner parts are basalt. And then I think Mars, the volcanics on Mars are basalt for the most part. Maybe some intermediates, some
Does
andesite.
not want to get all the way around there.
Cool things to think about.
Yeah, coming up a little bit.
Then we have a question for Gibson.
Yes.
Why is the video from Hercules so stable while the video from Atlanta seems like it's in a rodeo?
There's a few reasons for that. The normal reason is that Atalanta is tied to the 6/8 cable, which is a big, strong mechanical cable with fiber and electronics that goes straight up to the Nautilus. So as the Nautilus stern heaves with the waves or pitches with the waves, so does the tether, or so does the cable, and so does Atalanta. That's why you see me going up and down here. Atlanta's also currently operating on just one thruster, which makes fighting the currents a little bit challenging, as you can see. Meanwhile, Hercules is meant to be floating on his own.
Okay.
Keep it right. By doing that, we keep the tether slack.
There's a star over there.
You shouldn't feel any tugs, and
the back.
The view should be stable. That's what really matters, is we get a good picture for the science team from Hercules.
Yeah.
So this is a bamboo coral here. It's got something down midway in the colony there.
Oh, yeah.
Zoom there.
Sure.
Maybe it's
Full zoom.
just looks like a high density cluster of polyps, maybe. Some contracted. Looks like there's a little bit of tissue loss right just above where there might have been some sort of injury, or maybe some associate was attached. I am curious after this about the sea star up immediately above us, if we can get that at a better angle. It's kind of flat against the rock where the lasers are.
Interestingly, Dan, I'm not getting any more percent out of the forward thruster.
I was way wrong. It's called an orthosite, not whatever I said.
Yeah.
Even as I ask it to
I was
turn.
right though about the composition.
Let's try this again.
Yeah, that's odd.
Well, there's one of these parchment worm tubes. It's actually a worm tube.
Oh yeah, it kind of looks like a vase or something, covered in sediment.
They're really cool animals. We wondered for the longest time what they could be, but they're actually a type of worm that secretes a mucousy tube that gets coated with sediment and other things. And I believe they create a feeding current through the tube, but they're very bizarre animals. They're actually quite big. They fill up a large volume of the tube. But
Oh wow.
it was a type of parchment worm. There is a common name for a worm, a polychaete worm called parchment worm, but this might be a deep sea representative of something in the same family. But we sampled one last year, and we did some dissections. They're really, really neat animals. But in some sites, like when we get shallower, sometimes these can occur in very high density, like several per square meter. All right, good on that.
Did you just get
where'd that
lucky
star
scooping
go?
them?
Around here somewhere. What was that?
Did you just get lucky, like scooping a tube?
Yeah, we scooped it up, or we slurped it up. I'm not sure what we did, but yeah, they seem to be intact.
Bless you.
But they are fragile. They're not hard calcareous. They're mucousy.
Sorry, I lost the plot. Steve, where, you know where your star is?
I don't. I think we might be on top of it. Can we back up a little bit? No, I lost it. It was very small, kind of
Oh, is
floated
that
a
it right
rock.
there? Yeah.
The other side. I think that's it, yeah. You're gonna zoom in there, Dan?
Yeah, that's some other brittle star. The star I was looking at was actually really,
it's
really
right in the
large
bubble.
and flat.
Oh, I see what
Oh
he's
yeah,
got there, yeah.
there it is in your bubble.
Go wide there for a second. Yeah, it's gotta be there. That's the rock. Just can't see it.
You can actually catch the edge of it there, yeah.
I got it.
Sorry, I might be tugging you a little bit.
Yeah, that's a challenging little spot.
Try to zoom in there, Dan.
Sure.
He's an itty bitty guy. That's as close as I can get. There's a big rock there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
we gotta go.
It's a star called Tersmaster. Tremaster. It has these like almost what look like webbing between the arms, but they're actually covered in plates. But interestingly, Tersmaster, I don't know if it's all one species, but at least that genus, you can find it from, apparently this deep. Where are we at now? 1,700 meters all the way up into a few hundred meters of water. It has a very, very broad depth distribution. There's more stuff here than I thought. I thought it was going to be, yeah, like we said, lunar, but there's corals here. They're just very, very small, and they don't contrast well against the sediment. Bamboo corals.
You can, yeah, I can.
Chrysogorgia. Actually,
He's going
okay,
to
take a snap on that.
This. But you can
the bottlebrush.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, that's on the rock. I was just checking if it was on the rock or not. This is Chrysogorgia, some sort of biplanar or biflabellate fan. So if you can see, it has like two fans, one here and one here.
Biflabellate?
Biflabellate, yeah. Along with a squat lobster or something in there. That's the terminology. All right, all set there.
Roger, moving on.
Geology is not the only field to have really cool terminology.
I don't know if cool was the first thing that came to mind when I heard biflagellate.
Flabellate.
Flabellate, sorry.
Not touching that one.
I think actually the first thought is, what?
Zoom in just a bit there, if you want.
Sure.
Another bamboo?
Yeah, bamboo coral.
Adeline is looking 270.
Probably similar to the one we just saw, but this one's a bit larger. When they get larger, they tend to coil.
Okay.
Crazy hairdo on this bamboo coral.
It's got a comb over.
Really wanting a big angular rock for some ballast here. See anything you like?
You need a big angular rock, you said?
Yeah, they panicked and dropped all the ballast, so really late.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll look.
I don't really need one, but we could use one.
I mean, if nothing, that if even if it's carbonate or suspected to be carbonate, the crust might still be useful. So we can find something that might be useful for our crust geologists ashore.
Yeah,
actually, can we look at this is a very unusual rock morph. Can we take a look at that over here?
Yeah, it's an outlier. Looks crusty.
The rock over there might be interesting. Triangular.
Okay. Kind of looks molten. This rock looks weird.
Go ahead and zoom there.
So why is this rock so different from the other ones around it?
I don't know.
Any guesses?
Is it for sure a rock? Could it be something weird that's encrusted?
Yeah, it's never for sure a rock. It could be something weird, yeah. Or it's just...
Okay.
Sometimes weird growth just happens when it crystallizes.
Go ahead.
Because the space it crystallizes in can be funky.
This kind of terrain, minus the crust, kind of reminds you of reminds me of stromatolite mounds.
How so?
These kind of uniformly mound-shaped rocks that, I don't know.
Are those shallow?
They are shallow.
Yeah.
But you often see them in, in shallow, the banks of shallow islands, or
do a partial zoom there, Dan.
they presumably could have formed when, this feature was shallower and then subsided along with the seamount.
Those are one of the longest lasting organisms on Earth as well.
That's right, yeah.
So someone in chat wants to know,
Like
how can they
3.5 billion
live
years
at
old.
such a deep place?
Who?
The coral. I assume.
What's that red thing over there? Starfish in your bubble camera.
At this site, a lot of the corals and other suspension and filter feeders are feeding off of what you see in the water column, these kind of particles of white flaky snow drifting down. But their metabolism is quite slow generally. Down here the temperature is 1, maybe 2 degrees C. Where are we at right now? 2.4, about 2.4 degrees C, so very cold. Cellular processes are happening very slowly at these temperatures. The metabolism of most invertebrates is directly related to the temperature of their surrounding environment. So they don't need a huge amount of food, but if they can eke out an existence by eating low food quality marine snow particles, then they will. Life finds a way.
Yeah.
Famous words from Jeff Goldblum there. Underrated movie, in my opinion.
Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Underrated.
How is it underrated? It was like the top grossing when it came out.
Yeah.
Underrated movie.
I think it's overshadowed by the sequels, in my opinion.
In a bad way.
Yeah,
in a negative way, yes.
Very true.
I can't. Those movies I can't stand.
Should have just
They
left it at
was-
Jurassic Park.
They honestly should have.
What are you talking
But you
about?
can say that for a lot of franchises.
That's true.
Yeah, what is this stuff?
So Brandon, here's a question
It's
for
like
you.
a
Sheets of
large
something.
bush stalk.
Also,
Spin there real quick.
anemone or
Sure.
something.
Oh yeah, we can take a look at that.
Brandon, here's a question for you. Why are the rocks all so bumpy? I expected them to be smoothed over by the water.
Looks
Yeah,
like
that's
sheets of sponge.
A logical assumption to think they wouldn't be all bumpy, but there's actually this material called ferromanganese crust.
There's a purple thing down
that,
here. Can we take a look at see what that is?
Precipitates out of the water.
Very small.
And it covers everything
Zoom.
solid.
Full zoom there.
Sure.
So the reason why it's so bumpy is because of this crust?
Yeah, the crust has a crystal habit, if you will, of a boitroidal crystal habit, which is like, it looks like grapes.
I don't even
Sea
know what that
grapes.
is.
Is that a rock?
It looks like a purple rock, yeah.
It does look like
But it has
somebody
these little-
dropped a piece of polished limestone.
There's little protrusions on the outside of it.
Polished limestone is purple like that?
It can't be, well, if they dye it.
Can we
Artificial.
slurp it up?
Sure.
It could be biological too.
Yeah.
It could be a sponge, but it's sitting in sediment like that. It's curious enough that it warrants further investigation.
Can you get the camera on the jar?
I'm gonna call this purple.
Looks like that jar is empty.
Purple lump.
Purple lump.
Purple lump. Yeah.
Okay.
Roger.
My bet's on a polished piece of something.
Then how did it get down
Never
here?
seen anything like that before.
It's a, what were we calling rocks that aren't where they're supposed to be?
Let me know when you're ready.
Stupid, I can't remember.
Ready.
Invasive
Okay,
rocks.
coming up.
Yeah, basically. But, I mean, people drop in.
75%.
Oh yeah, came up easily.
Yeah, it didn't seem attached, huh?
No. Makes, yeah, I mean,
Oh, geez.
yeah,
Uh-oh.
not a rock.
It looks like you got it.
It's not a rock?
Oh,
Oh, it's floating around?
Turned to shredded, yeah.
wow.
We'll take a look. I mean, it could be like a foraminiferan also.
Rotating the jars forward. You got the jar number there?
Is that jar number 6? I can't see.
Jar number 5.
5. Thank you. Sample
You got
144.
20/20 vision or what?
No, I just have an
Oh,
up
you
close
have
personal satellite. I
okay.
mean, yeah, I have supervision, guys.
Okay, hit one on bubble for
Yep,
me.
coming back. Changing those cameras.
Make a
I
note
mean-
that it exploded in the jar.
Correct.
We got a little,
Yeah, maybe it was an extremely large single cellular thing.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah. These this large sponge
there's something
fragments
there.
are interesting.
That's where the large sponge fragments came from.
Yeah, could be. Yep. Oftentimes these relic sponge bases will have all sorts of attached fauna. Like you see this crinoid here, but also inside there's a bunch of usually foraminiferans and hydroids.
You want a closer look at that, or are you good?
No, we're good. We'll keep going. We saw some earlier in the expedition
Sure.
here. Yeah. The Primnoid colony.
Is that a Chrysogorgia right by it? Or hemicryllium?
Hemicryllium.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you hold off on that move for a minute? Shit, here, we're gonna look some stuff here we're gonna look at. You want a close up on this guy, Steve?
Yeah, the one in the back.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
So it looks like we have a primnoid here that has lyrate branching followed by what looks like maybe some dichotomous branching, but I'm gonna take a look here.
We have more zoom if you want it.
Yeah, let's go all in.
All in.
All in.
It's all in.
There I do.
A couple stars on the bottom too.
Oh yeah, bird stars.
The colony is a little bit better lit on the right-hand side. There's a bit of a shadow here.
Got it. I can give you another light here.
Camera's a little bouncy. It's hard to tell. Yeah.
Let me see if I can set it down a little harder. We're light, so she doesn't plant as well. Okay, try that.
Yeah, so this suggests it's probably in the genus Narella. There are numerous species within that genus around here. Can we go for a small snip
Sure.
of one of the branches, and we'll put it in the forward bio box. Lambda has a rock in it already. Maybe the one with the star on it would be great.
Roger.
The two branches with the star.
Is this supposed to be a lambda?
I think so.
Then there's a basalt in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can put it on top of the rock.
All right.
I'm not too worried about like the rocks, rolling around in there. They really don't move all that much. The corals are usually okay, and you can't usually fit more than one rock in Lambda. I saw them collect it, and it takes up most of the box space, so there's no other rocks going in there.
How's that?
The rock that's in Lambda now doesn't have any biology attached to it, as far as we know, right? Just as rock. Yeah.
Spastic climb.
Okay.
It does say room
Come
for
down.
more.
Yeah, I'm coming down. I don't know if I'm going to go much further down. That was a big.
We have the entirety of the starboard box is almost all open. Only 2 compartments have been used so far.
Can you move
Here's a-
Atalanta over Herc for us?
Whoever the sampling to be over.
I've got 2 wraps in the 6-8 that need to come counterclockwise to get them out. But
Don't worry about that now.
Narella, but different from the one we collected previously.
Go for it. Great.
It's gonna make a run for it.
Yeah, but there's more here we're going to want to see, so.
Oh, don't jump off.
Oh, he's out of there.
Oh.
Fancy maneuvering.
See ya.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
See ya, bud.
Oh.
That's all right. That's all right.
Bye-bye, Star.
So Steve, here's another question for you. Why is the temperature so low at 2.4 Celsius? Shouldn't it be higher, around 4, where the water has more
You
density?
can open the box.
Well,
Open in box.
that's true for density, but not necessarily for temperature or even salinity. You can often have water that's colder underlying
Closing box.
much. You can often have colder water that's underlying. In the North Atlantic, bottom water or the
Sample
North Atlantic
1,
deep
4,
water is about 4
5.
degrees C, but here water temp is colder. So that water reaches its maximum density around 4 degrees C, but just because it's the most dense doesn't mean it's always going to be the bottom water. For example, in this area, if you were to go down even deeper, I think you might catch like the fringes of Antarctic bottom water reaching up this far north. Antarctic bottom water is the coldest, densest water.
Is that our friend?
But let's see, we're in this right now. We're probably in
On the slurp.
Pacific deep water. That water
On
mass.
suction.
Suction's on. Dankeschön.
No way.
Josh can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, but he had a whole box to
Good,
catch it
thanks.
with. You want to slurp this thing?
Well, we got to get here anyway, so.
Yeah.
My heart is pounding.
No, I'm getting it.
You're getting a tug.
Tether's pulling on me, yeah.
Yeah, come down a little.
Here's a question for the ROV pilots. Were the jaws on Herc's arm changed for sampling reasons?
Changed, went. We've had these coral jaws on here for, coral cutter jaws on here for a while now.
Are there other jaws?
Yeah. Parallel jaws, intermeshing jaws.
Which one do we more commonly use?
Yeah. Depends on what we're doing. For us, we more commonly use the ones that are on here now. They're for this type of work. They're good for picking up rocks and good for cutting corals. There's a whole cult of what are the best jaws for a manipulator. We'll get 6 opinions from 3 different ROV people.
And then here's a question for Steve. How do you decide what things to sample?
it's largely focused on things that we can't readily identify on video, or specimens that might be used in useful for understanding the biodiversity that we find in our environmental DNA samples. For example, something that's representative of a site, characteristic of a site, or that might represent large range expansions. We are, here at Johnson Atoll, we're at least several hundred miles from, outside of the Johnson Atoll area. We're a couple hundred miles from the nearest US EEZ, which I think is just to the north of us. So we're looking at connectivity, or not necessarily connectivity, but species distribution patterns between areas adjacent to Johnson Atoll.
So then how many samples on average do we get per dive?
A couple more meters.
Come down a couple more.
It varies. So we are getting samples, in sequence, like numerical samples. So I think what sample number are we on now? 120?
146.
46?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've taken a few.
Just trying to come around.
But we're also taking subsamples of those. So for example, if we find a sea star, for example, or a brittle star on a coral, that will receive a subsample number. So the number of actual samples is much more.
So then what's the ballpark of the actual samples that we've got?
I don't know. I think we'll have to check. We'll get back to you. I think it's in the probably close to the mid 200s if you consider all of the other associates and splits that we might have done. So for example, with Liz's work, we are sending the bodies of the sea urchins and sea cucumbers to the museum for curation. But we're also extracting out the gut contents for some of the ongoing work at UH. So maximizing the use of any collection. Yeah, so a little bit of oceanography about the area. In this part of the North Pacific, we're pretty much right in the middle of North Pacific Deepwater, or Pacific Deepwater, which is a water mass that takes up the largest volume of the North Pacific. But if we were to go down deeper than this, we might enter a different water mass called circumpolar deepwater, which actually travels up from the Southern Ocean at a density layer and mixes with the above-lying Pacific deepwater, as well as the underlying water mass called Antarctic bottom water. And even though water is at peak density, freshwater is at its peak density around 4 degrees. When you start to add salinity to seawater, it does funny things. We take a look at this star coming up too. Either one. There's one on the left and one on the right.
What funny things does it do when you add salinity?
So when you add salinity, you can increase the density while decreasing the temperature and still result in a more dense water mass. Nice. This is I believe this is a myxosterid, possibly Pythonaster. It's a sponge predator that we saw. I think we saw one of these yesterday as well, but they have been collected from around here, so I don't think we're going to do anything but image this, but it's a good observation nonetheless.
Did you get an image there, or was it too
We got a good image? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I got a good image.
Both, yeah.
Let me get out a little bit more. We're going to try and follow this feature for a while. So
to take that wrap out, it might have to come from your end because the turning abilities are pretty mute right now.
Can we take a half zoom into this ball of polyps here?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Looks unusual.
Is that another Chrysogorgia?
Yep. Yeah, it is a Chrysogorgia. With the Chrysogorgia crab in the middle, squat lobster. Yeah, these are the ones that can be very easily mistaken sometimes for Metallogorgia, but they have different morphologies. You know, Chrysogorgia will usually have the golden axis skeleton, whereas Metallogorgia, it's usually darker. The polyps here are huge. This morph, I believe, has been collected from the region, so I don't think we need to do that, but definitely a good observation.
So you got one wrapping a tether there.
Yeah.
So when you increase the salinity of water, you can depress the temperature to sometimes below 0 C, while also still increasing the density. And so Antarctic bottom water is the coldest and densest water mass on the planet, with temperatures ranging from like almost -1 C to about 2 C, depending on where you're located, along with temperatures in the high 34s PSU. And so that usually underlies most other water masses, but only at depths of 3,000 or 4,000 meters plus.
Just gonna make you dizzy here for a minute. So we're gonna take that loop out of my tether. Can you come back and look at the tether there?
Yeah.
Here's another question. Is there any way to collect samples of rocks that are too big to be brought to the surface?
I don't think so. Dredge.
You, bring your head
Oh,
to the
okay,
right.
sure.
So.
But I'm assuming they mean by the ROV, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mean by ROV, then yeah, dredging. Yeah, so
sure.
how would you go about, if you didn't have an ROV, how would you go about doing
ready
geological
for a
studies? Can you explain about how dredging works?
If I want to get rid of my reps, I gotta come counterclockwise twice.
Not really.
Roger.
I've never really looked into it, but I believe it's just from the ship. There's a mechanism that goes down to the bottom, and it sort of just scoops up rock. Yep. It's just like a big scoop, big metal cage with teeth on it. There you go. Never done dredging personally. Neither have I. I'd love to go one day, though. It's sort of like less discriminatory than what we're doing. Yeah. In terms of picking up samples, which can be good or bad. Not the greatest for environmental sensitivity, for sure. Certainly not, yeah. I don't know if, I don't even know if they would permit that in the monument these days, dredging. Or if there are certain special circumstances, perhaps. I think there are circumstances, but I don't want to speculate too much.
What effects on the environment does dredging have?
Well, like, it doesn't discriminate, so any organisms there are going to get swept up, and yeah. And that's just, the organic stuff where the rocks can be poor quality, and you can tell that from seeing them, but dredging, we don't just
come down.
Yeah, we don't
3 meters.
make that distinction with dredging.
Question in chat.
There we go.
We have some questions about Johnston Atoll and its history. If you are interested in finding out more, please, one, do your own research, and you can find a lot more information than we can provide you with. And two, if you go to our website, there's the history of Johnston Atoll, of its military past and its use of, or now as a wildlife sanctuary, and the effects of the environment that it has had. So if you'd like to look that up and find more about it, you can find it on our website, or we also encourage you to do your own research.
Nice hemicorallium. Also a Brisingid sea star to the far right, and a brittle star on the colony. Can we actually drop down a bit and look at this small circular thing on the rock over there underneath the coral next to that sponge? Looks out of place right here. Just wanted to know if it was a base or if it was something else.
Zoom in there, Dan.
Sure. What is that? I think they're brachiopods. Can we collect one of those brachiopods? There's one here on the right and one on the left.
Yeah.
Can we collect one of those? Maybe the one on the right.
Looks like it has a nucleus, kind of.
Yeah. It could be a... It could be a... tunicate also, but just wanted to check and see if it was a brachiopod, because I'm almost certain that brachiopods are very underreported for these areas, and it would probably be a slurp because they're very, very fragile. Brachiopods are, they look like bivalves, but they're actually a totally different group of animals.
It looks like in the sample jar 4, some of that purple stuff wound up in there as well. Must have been stuck in the hose.
Okay.
So either we can note that and use it, or if you want the next one.
I can note that.
Yeah, we have enough jars. I think we can use a fresh one.
Okay.
We should go to the flush jar every time and
Flush the hose.
flush the hose, yeah.
Should I do that now?
Sure.
Okay.
You're going to come up and pull me right off the cliff there. Yeah, don't come up while I'm trying to park on the cliff.
Since it's not moving,
You pull me off.
I'm guessing it's not a
I'm just watching how close that
It's
cliff's
pretty
getting on
solid.
the radar sonar.
You're all
Even
right.
with the thrusters moving around, I would kind of expect if it was gelatinous, it would be jiggling a little bit or something.
So do brachiopods have different symmetry than bivalves? Okay.
Or
You
symmetry,
goose it like that, you pull the vehicle
not
up.
different
So I'm trying
symmetry.
to
I think they're
land
still
and you're goosing
bilateral.
the winch, so don't do that.
But
Okay.
they
You're
have
gonna come
totally
up,
different
come up
internal
real
anatomy.
slow
Even
and
though
do
they're
it.
shelled, sometimes the shell, usually the shell is extremely thin. They're actually more closely related to things like bryozoans.
Let's move the boat off so he's off that cliff.
Yeah, these fan-shaped tiny animals, Lophophoriates,
I want to
all belong to
put
the same
Atlanta
group.
behind Herc.
They still create these feeding currents, similar to bivalve mollusks, but it's a tiny bit different.
This one. Put it right there. Go look at this sponge for a minute, Steve, while we move the boat.
Yeah, sure. We got time.
While we're while we're waiting, here's a question in chat. How much does the evolution change the deep sea over time? Are some of the beings like they were in the Cambrian, for example?
So with evolutionary rates, it varies depending on the taxonomic group. But generally, so I think that question is trying to ask two different things. I'll try to address it in two different ways. Evolutionary rates are taxon specific. Generally, at least for corals, it's quite slow in the deep sea. However,
Gotcha.
The other answer to that question is, something about like our deep sea. Read the second half of that question
just
again.
been bobbing with the
Similar
stern.
to Cambrian.
Yeah.
Are some of the beings like they were in the Cambrian, for example?
Okay. Yep.
Cambrian.
Copy that.
Maybe. I don't know. Too much about. There's not a lot of information about like deep sea fauna of the, the earliest life on Earth. Most of the earliest life on Earth.
Or shallow.
Were shallow.
Yeah.
And only what we know is based on what's been covered up and fossilized in sedimentary rocks. Remember that a lot of the deep sea was anoxic through much of Earth's history.
Yeah.
So below, where we are right now at this depth, probably had no oxygen or almost no oxygen for a lot of Earth's history. And to compound those matters, especially on these seamount environments, these are recycled environments. These seamounts are going to get subducted one day, and not necessarily going to preserve fossils through that process. Let's just say it's cataclysmic. So yeah, anything, even if there was fossilized something or other, it wouldn't survive being subducted and going through that process. And over 500 million years, I'm guessing, Earth's gone through a fair number of those processes. I mean, the oldest age of the Pacific Ocean is what, like 130, 80?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not that old compared to the age of the Earth.
Yeah.
180 million, 180
million.
years. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 180
and
years ago.
life started,
Just gonna
500-600 million years.
Right, exactly. At least abundant life did. So.
Yeah.
We are not special.
Yeah, so, there are there's papers that have been published about landscapes in the deep sea that look, prehistoric.
Okay, you can look
for example, in the Southern Ocean, there was a paper that was published several years ago about crinoid gardens or crinoid fields that looked somewhat, Paleozoic. Pretty neat landscapes that, you would only find in the deep sea. You don't find crinoid gardens in the shallow oceans, to the best of my knowledge, anymore. I mean, there are crinoids in shallow water reefs, but, not like the stalked variety, which possibly are more, what's the word? And more ancestral. Yeah. I think the free moving crinoids might be slightly more recent evolutions.
I think they're harder to preserve too. The stock on crinoids is way better material.
But they're still, both of them are very well representative in the fossil record.
The video is going to be more bouncy than you're used to because of the weather. So trust me, it's not going to crash into the cliff when the ship heaves.
Gotcha.
Trust your instruments.
Do you think you can reach up this high with the slurp hose and get either of those?
Yeah.
Cool.
Just had to get Atlanta off the cliff there so we can get a little tether.
Which sample jar do we want?
We have every jar but 5 and 4 open.
Alrighty. How does 6 sound?
Sounds good.
Here's a little question from chat. Where are you in the ocean exactly? And where in the ocean are you? And where are you specifically? So we are currently in the northern Pacific?
You're off the winch.
Southern Pacific.
I was just going to come
It'll start smacking you every time you do that.
We are currently just south of Johnston
I've been
Atoll.
watching you. Every time you see the camera bounce, you immediately grab the thing. And
I just want to take our delta down a little lower. So
running around.
It's fine. When the vehicle's light and when we're pushed in for a sample, you don't need to move the winch unless it's a dire circumstance.
You want some help?
And it's not.
Maybe.
Trust me, it'll be
just
okay.
a little bit of help. It's a little early for my brain to be working.
Can we zoom back in on both of these before we go for a collection?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. I'm going to see which one is better here.
So we're in the Pacific Remote Marine National Monument?
Yes, that.
Yeah. Near Johnston Atoll, like
I think
maybe a couple 100 kilometers to the west.
Yeah,
we have our exact location actually written
out. They're totally brachiopods. I think the one on the left-hand side is preferred.
We don't
it's a
tell
bit
that to
bigger.
Roger.
But yeah, we're at a seamount.
And they are going to be attached, but I'm hoping that they just get knocked off like a cup coral, but you might need to get and scrape the rock a little bit.
Roger. Dan, can you zoom out for a minute? I can't use this drunken bubble camera this morning. I gotta cheat and use the main camera here. I want to get a good grab that I can.
So we're at one of the mini geos here in the remote islands, which isn't an island, and we are actually on the surface on a boat. Or on a vessel called the EV Nautilus.
To get in there like that.
Where our ROVs are in the deep sea at the geo.
Do it.
We're basically right above it.
Sorry, operator fail. Try that again.
Nice.
That's the one we want. Cliff scraping angle. It's going to be a little bit messy because the vehicle's moving back and forth there.
Yeah.
What do you decide, Steve? The one on the left?
Yeah, the one on the left. It's slightly bigger. Yep.
Fantastische Spüle aus einer fantastischen Welt.
Okay, you can turn the suction on to about, let's try 50% here.
%50%.
Can you turn the bender off?
I can turn the bender off, yep.
Yeah, go ahead and turn the bender off, and I'm going to just play with the
and the ground fault sense too.
I'm going to change a heading gain here and see if that stops this thing from...
Bender's off. You want ground fault sense off also?
Yeah, both of those.
Okay.
Let's play another gain here, see if it'll stop that oscillation.
Yeah, they're both off.
Okay, you can
Still
go
at
tight now.
50%.
Try 60 now.
60%.
Herc's wagging its tail there. I'm just going to wait for the wag the other way.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, maybe, no, I decided to stop wagging. There it goes. Okay, turn it up a little, 70%.
70%.
Get it all?
Yeah, that's great.
Nice.
That's that was softer than I thought. That might
Nice.
great, perfect.
And there is sample 146.
That might have actually
Jar
been a
already?
tunicate, but it looked like a brachiopod to me.
You can kill the suction there.
Okay, suction's off.
But maybe put tunicate down for that sample.
Here's another question from chat. When do you use the term boat versus ship versus vessel?
Boats go on ships. Ships don't go on boats.
Okay. And then vessels.
That's like overly reductive, but
Zoom in there for a minute, Dan, while I'm playing with this.
The vessel's just universal.
seems more professional, I think. Vessel.
It depends
Yeah.
how fancy you want to be.
Ramp boat and bender back on.
And as you know, we are very fancy here.
Exactly. Here in Team Delta Dan of the Benthic Storms.
It doesn't quite look like, maybe it's just hard to see, but it could be one of those predatory tunicates, but it's very, very difficult to tell.
Do we change to the flush jar there?
There might be an opening on the bottom side of the rock there, but this will be interesting still.
Pardon me?
Did
These
you
things
change
are
back to the
poorly sampled.
flush jar? Flush it out.
You can see all these
Gotcha.
these small stringy things here. These are arborescent foraminiferans. They're also single-celled, like the xenophyophores. They often colonize a lot of these dead sponges.
Flushing it out.
Okay, Dan, you can go wide. Thank you.
EV also stands for exploratory vessel, doesn't it?
You can,
It sure does.
smash one on the bubble chem there. for
Versus
me.
RV, which
over.
is research vessel.
All right, I think it's flushed.
Which we're kind of both.
So zero
But
that.
we're more exploration, originally even, anyway, than research, so. They kind of go hand in hand, but, you know.
They're pretty distinct modes
Start
of
the 5 a.m.
doing.
checks.
Roger.
I guess you could put them under the science umbrella.
So it's not the science nautilus, it's...
Well, I mean, exploration is a science of sorts, as is research. But I think that the major differentiation is that research vessels are often aimed at specific hypothesis-driven questions, whereas exploration vessels like this one are, the goal is just to go places that might represent high risk, but also might represent high reward findings, which is kind of, it's also required too. So EV Nautilus checks that box.
So are there any other kind of, I don't know exactly what they're called, but like the EV Nautilus, the RV, well, what other kind of nomenclature, I guess? Like, or the beginning of where the ship is?
What other things would
You're fine.
fall into that category for science.
Well, I mean, that as far as
Good
ships,
view.
there aren't any other designations that I'm aware of. So yeah, that.
Look at all that water underneath Atalanta.
It's a little uncanny. Don't look at this if you have thalassophobia.
Yeah. Please, Brandon, elaborate what thalassophobia is.
I think it's just fear of the sea, basically.
Well,
Specifically, like the dark sea.
Fear of deep water.
Deep water, thank you. Because who knows what monsters may be lurking.
bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
The real monsters, the friends we made along the way.
I don't think that's how it goes.
So,
All right. So this is good. We can keep lateraling south, getting into some more
Atalanta's
steep
got,
terrain here.
I'm seeing the altimeter ping up to 50, 75 meters there. It's just it's a 10-degree cone, so it's just close enough to, there's 90-meter ping, so.
Or glass sponge? Yes.
Yeah, I believe this is a polyopogon, the satellite dish morph.
Well, want to challenge for you. So we want Atalanta 10 meters behind her because we follow the speed.
Of course, it's not going to be spelled phonetically, so...
Is it ever how you spell it phonetically?
No, it's not, and it really hurts my brain. Because, God forbid, you spell something how it sounds.
Spelled nice, bro.
Physics is spelled Bahizix. or Bahigic. I don't like it.
That's a deep cut, I guess.
I mean,
it's personal.
It should be spelled F-I-Z-I-C-K-S. Physics.
So you have to work
That
out
makes more sense. Or F
which way
with an X or something, yeah.
Too bad you can't draw a line on the sonar and get that, but you can mentally. So you have to use his heading and then look at the sonar and figure out which way the feature's running in real life.
Even science is spelled weird. It's spelled Skihians. Or Skihians.
Yeah, it seems to be.
You say so.
I do say so. This is a real problem, Brandon.
185, 195, somewhere like that.
Steve, I have a question for you regarding earlier when we were talking about